Now, I've never torn down a Hyundai transmission before, so today we're going to tear down this 6-speed automatic transmission from a 2013 Hyundai Optima. Now, in typical Kia fashion, the engine blew up, and that's how I got the transmission. Check out the link above if you want to see the engine tear down on this. Now, the engines don't really last that long enough in order to determine the long-term reliability of these transmissions. Taking a quick look around here, we have the input, which is the torque converter. Got a transmission vent and the plugs at the top here with the neutral safety switch. At the front here, we have a plastic cover for the valve body. And around the back here, we do have our final drive where the axles are going to plug into. There's the cover plate over here and the transmission cooler line. I think it's cool that you don't need a socket to drain the transmission. Just twist this plug and pull it out. And the fill plugs at the back of the final drive. We'll start at the front here by removing this torque converter. By the way, this is the flex plate that bolts to the crankshaft and to this torque converter. This thin little thing is what's responsible for transmitting all the torque to the transmission. I'm going to go ahead and remove all these bell housing bolts. Now I can use my bell housing removal tool. Pull this off. So we have what looks like a very traditional design. The oil pump is up at the front here. We've got most of the clutches down in this area. This is the transmission filter at the bottom. Here we have a counter gear that drives the final drive, and that's where the axles are going to plug into. See if I can lift this out here. If you want to learn more about how these open differentials work, check out my video linked above. You can see this is the parking pawl mechanism, and that's what's going to move in here and lock, prevent this gear from moving, and therefore prevent the final drive and wheels from moving when you're in park. Let's remove these two bolts for the transmission filter. Next I'm going to remove these 12s. Alright, we can pop off the first oily piece, the pump and the stator that goes into the torque converter. You got the inlet and outlet of the pump here, and communication from the valve body through these ports over here to the torque converter. It sucks that you have to get this far in order to change the transmission filter. This one looks at okay shape. I don't really see any particles. This is just dust from when I opened the case. Now this is the input shaft to the transmission. You can see that spins a clutch over here. This band that sits inside of that. I have a bunch of clutches here sat around that. These clutches look to be in decent shape. You can see there's still brown friction material on here, and the steels are in good shape as well. Alright, to get the next set out, there's a snap ring, which is my favorite. This plate here. Looks like we got a bunch of clutches in behind here to take out. One of the best tools you can have while dissecting a transmission is a pick set. I mean a good one, not a cheap crappy one like this Harbor Freight one. Really tight. Alright, you can see these frictions are in good shape as well. I'm not expecting any major failure in here. Listen to the squirting noise of this piston. It's making squirting noises. I use my snap ring removal tool here to dislodge the C-clip. Of course, that went flying. So this is actually the piston return spring. There we go. Alright, there's some Torx bolts inside of here. Let's see if I can get these off. Oh, they're torqued on pretty good. Pull this piece off. Okay, so this is actually kind of the cylinder, and the piece I pulled off before is sort of your piston. You can see it's got a seal going around here. So when oil pressure enters from the valve body over here, it kind of pushes that up against the spring and squishes those steels and friction bits together. Pop this plate off. I've taken a couple more. Now at this point the plate is loose, but it can't come out because of that oil galley that's sticking out for the piston, which we have to get out from the valve body, so let's turn our attention to that next. Alright, so we got a plastic front cover here. The fluid in here isn't too dark, but it's definitely used. Maybe it wasn't changed because this car only had 135 kilometers on it. Now this here is your manual valve or park neutral switch. That tells the transmission what gear you're in. You can see these are the detents over here, and that controls the manual valve inside of the valve body itself. Now the valve body's got this wiring harness that hooks up over here. That's because it's an electronically controlled transmission, which means that you can switch the gears yourself on the dashboard. The valve body pretty much acts like the brains of the transmission to control those clutches. I'm going to remove all the 10mm bolts that I can see so we can get this out of the transmission. These transmissions definitely make a lot of mess on the teardown table. Luckily I have a natural hole over here which is going to drain to the pan down below. I'm going to carefully remove this wiring harness. And you can see all the solenoids. Wow, there's a lot of solenoids in this thing. I like how they have one bus that kind of connects everything. You don't have to deal with individual pins and wires that could potentially break. I'm guessing this cooler line is probably right in your face. Little 10 at the top. Take a step back here and remove this manual valve. Now I can unhinge the, oh my goodness. Wow. Now this valve body is rather compact. It's got 8 solenoids on it, and any combination of those are what's going to give you your 6 forward gears and your 1 reverse gear. These are basically going to control all the clutches and therefore control the planetary gear sets to give you those different ratios. Here we've got a couple of bolts here to hold these wires in. It looks like these are the input and output speed sensors. I'll just move that off to the side. There's this little bushing here that's kind of important to take out. Sometimes they block the clutches from coming out the top. Moving back to the top, should be able to remove this piece now. So it seems like that's what drives this counter gear, which drives the final drive. Let's remove this counter gear. Alright, so I don't think we can get the rest of this out from here. We're going to have to turn this over and remove the back cover. See on the back here we got a couple of vanes that actually feed this inside piece here to feed the clutch at the back here. My favorite, another snap ring. Can remove this piston and clutch assembly. There we go. Alright, so this is called a Sprag bearing or a one-way clutch. You can see it's freewheeling in that direction, but if I rotate it in the other direction, it actually carries torque. And if you think of the back wheel on your bicycle, you want it to carry torque when you're pedaling forward, but you want it to freewheel when you're stop pedaling. Now in a vehicle, let's say you're going downhill and you want to use the wheels to slow down the engine, you have to apply this clutch here, and that's going to allow the torque to transfer through and lock up this freewheel here. Otherwise, if you're unlocked, you're just going to be coasting downhill, gaining a lot of speed. Now I've taken apart a few transmissions, but Hyundai's done something a little interesting here. Seems like these little plastic bits here are probably something to do with lubrication. Let's see what happens if I remove this circlip here. What if I did this? Then I could do that. See that? That releases that. And here you have the one-way Sprag on the outside here. That's connected to this face over here, which was connected to the previous clutch that I removed. By the way, that previous clutch had a sun gear on it. Then we have the Planet Carrier. In case you missed that, inside of here we've also got a clutch and a piston return spring, which I already took out. And then we have a piston inside of here. And there's the piston itself. Now the cylinder for that piston is actually molded into the casing here. Here you can see the piston seal. Now besides a couple of fluid passages inside of here to activate those clutches, there's nothing else much to the casing. The only complaint I have is having this electrical connector facing upward. That allows water, coolant, or other bodily fluids to go inside and sit in there and possibly corrode the terminal. There's probably like a dozen clutches inside of this thing, but this little planetary gear set is all that controls 6 forward speeds and 1 reverse speed. Alright, so here's an exploded view of how this planetary gear set works. We start here with the first ring gear. Then on top of that we have this planet carrier. Now this planet carrier is shared between the first planetary gear set with its ring over here and the ring gear of the following planetary gear set. And here we have the sun gear first planetary gear set. Now you'll see these have splines on it, and that's where the clutches are going to lock up to control the motion of that sun gear. Next up we have the sun gear of the following planetary gear set, and it also has its splines over here. You can see these holes here are where fluid are going to travel in between here. They all spin on the same axis and are concentric to each other. Then we have the planet carrier for the secondary planet gear set. You can see this is planet carrier is actually shared with the planet carrier from the third planetary gear set. Here's the third planetary gear set. You can see we've got the ring gear over here. It's externally splined to one of those clutches over there that we just took off. And then finally we have the sun gear of the final planetary gear set. And it's also got its piston and clutch set inside of here to control its motion. So you can see it's very compact. We've got a total of 3 planetary gear sets. The key being we have a planet carrier that's shared between the two, and we have a ring gear and a planet carrier that's shared between the first two. Let me just remind you how a planetary gear set works. Here we've got the sun gear. We're going to plug that into this planet carrier. Then we're going to take this planet carrier and put it into the ring gear, and that forms a planetary gear set. So now let's say I made the sun gear here my input, and I lock the ring gear over here. I'm going to spin that sun gear, and you can see I'm spinning it really fast, and I'm getting a very slow output from the planetary carrier, and that's great for a first gear when you just want to take off. Now let's say I made the sun gear stationary and I wanted to rotate the ring gear as my input. You can see that the planet carrier, which is my output, is going to be rotating at almost a 1-to-1 ratio, and this would be ideal for say like a third gear when you're just cruising around but you don't need too much speed. Finally, let's say we did the opposite of the first scenario, and I held the ring gear stationary and I used the planet carrier as my input. The sun gear is rotating much faster than the input, and that's great for an overdrive ratio, like when you want to cruise on the highway, but you don't need that much torque. Reverse can be had by holding the planet carrier stationary, and then I can rotate my input, which is the sun gear. You can see the ring gear is rotating in the opposite direction. and that's what's going to give me a nice reverse gear. So by having a combination of all these planetary gear sets, you can create 6 forward usable gears and a single reverse gear. And what's great is that it sits very compact inside of the transmission. As a matter of fact, things like these clutches and pistons actually take up more space than the gears themselves. Now if you take a look at how a clutch works, essentially you have these steel bands which are splined to, let's say, the transmission casing, and then you have these friction discs that are splined to one of those planetary gear sets. Now normally these are going to be floating around in transmission fluid free to rotate. However, when that piston applies hydraulic pressure, it's going to squeeze this together, and then your input is going to be locked to your output, and therefore what's toothed on the inside is going to be locked to the transmission casing, and it can only resist torque. Now don't let them scare you into thinking you have sport shift or a manually automated transmission. They're all an automatic transmission. It's just that this one's electronically controlled like everything nowadays. So I'm going to remove all these solenoids. Take off this plate. These solenoids should pop out. These are just little oil control valve solenoids, and they got a little screen on the top here. If they get clogged, they could cause transmission issues. But if these are getting clogged, then you probably have some other issues like clutch material wearing down. At least they're serviceable. You can get them right from the front of the transmission by taking off that plastic cover. I'm going to remove all the 10s that I can see. Alright, this just slides off as different levels here. Pull this off. This one's got a metal plate. And here are the guts of your transmission. Inside of here we've got these little springs, and those are kind of like little accumulators. They're going to hold fluid so that your next shift has enough fluid pressure in order to engage the clutch smoothly. Remove that steel plate. And yep, you see you got these little steel check balls with springs in them. That's just to provide one-way fluid flow. So essentially how this works is you've got hydraulic circuits instead of electronic circuits that are going to redirect fluid flow to those clutches. It's going to use commands from those valves that we saw earlier as this manual valve that attaches to your park neutral switch and your shifter. It always amazes me when I take apart one of these valve bodies as to who designed this, how they machined this with such tight tolerances. And if you think about the mass production scale that they've actually created all this to fit in so many vehicles, it's really intricate. These will make nice lowering springs for your Kia Optima. Let's take apart this oil pump next. Ooh, got some fluid in there. So here you've got a gear style oil pump. Essentially these two notches here are going to lock into the torque converter, which is always spinning with the engine, and it's going to provide fluid flow by squeezing the fluid through here in through these passages over here. That fluid is going to come up through these passages over here into this hole here to feed the transmission. You've also got a little hole over here, and that's going to correspond to a hole inside of here. That's going to feed the lockup clutch inside of the torque converter. This little piece sticking out here is the stator. It always stays stationary. Here's a look at the Sprag bearing. You can see inside of here it's got a little spring. Now if you're going in this direction here, you're able to freewheel and it won't give you any resistance. Whoops. But now if you look closely here on the side view, you can see it's sort of a ball ramp system where it's always pushing down, and that's going to give you a smaller diameter on the inside here. Now a smaller diameter multiplied by like 24 of these is always going to be clamping against the race over here, and that's going to allow it to transmit torque in that one direction. However, when you go in the other direction, all of these are just going to push back against their spring and kind of tuck away inside of that little cavity over there, allowing you enough clearance so that you can rotate this in the opposite direction. If we can knock this apart here. Make a big mess with all these rollers on my table. And here's a closer look at that ball ramp teeth kind of profile here. And this here is the carrier with the spring. You can see it just kind of holds the roller in. And that's a look at the 6-speed automatic transmission from Hyundai and Kia. I had a lot of fun taking this thing apart because it's not an exact copycat from Toyota like everything else is for them. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one.